Hey guys, it's Jason here. Welcome back to the channel and welcome to the video. Today we are checking out a 1/18 scale monster truck from DEERC. It is a brushless four-wheel drive, kind of monster trucky, sort of look going on. So you've got kind of a truck body, but it's more got kind of a trucky suspension on it, all that kind of fun stuff. And we're going to be doing the usual. We're going to unbox it, go over everything that it comes with, and also, guys, talk about some of the pros that I really like about this setup. So kind of what DEERC has included with the truck, because even though obviously, guys, the truck is very, very cool, I really like how they packaged this truck and what they included with it. All right, we've got the truck out of the box, and my first impressions, guys, was the body is really nice. The colors they've used, just all the different kind of design, the graphics sort of thing, everything that's going on looks really nice. It's not a simple, kind of boring color or just a very kind of plain sort of design palette or anything like that. It actually is really, really nice. I like the way DEERC is at the top, and obviously you guys can see over here. I'm going to get into that stuff very, very soon. I just wanted to, again, kind of go over the initial truck when I got it out of the box. These rings right here are actual aluminum rings, but they're not, these aren't bead locks or anything like that. So these come separate, the screws come separate, and when you get the truck, you can kind of install them and put them on. I kind of had debated if I was going to use them or not, because I really do dig this yellow body. And again, guys, that red body does come with the truck, but we're going to cover that later. I was kind of thinking like, okay, obviously the red rings with the red body, but as soon as I got the rings on, had the yellow body on, I really do think this actually looks really, really good. Depending on the angle, you can still sort of see like the red anodized shocks and stuff like that. So I think that's kind of a sharp look for it. I actually like the yellow and red. But what I want to do now, guys, is I want to go over what's included with the kit. Now, you can pretty much see it all, but I was kind of shocked when I was getting everything out of the box and I saw what was included, because it kind of made this vehicle, this RC, kind of a really family-friendly RC, and I'm going to get into that right now. Now, I want to start first with the body. So the truck does come with two bodies. They're very nicely detailed. You guys just saw the yellow one, and you can see the red one here is equally just as nice. I like the way this looks in the truck bed, backed with white. Really nice, clean-looking body. Definitely something, guys, that, you're not going to need to replace or anything like that. Probably throw some Gorilla Tape in there just to stiffen it up a little bit. It's pretty flexible. It feels pretty good that way. I don't think it'll crack too easy depending on what you're doing with it. But what I like about this, and I'm going to get into these two batteries in a second, what I like about this is, let's say you've got a couple of kids. So you've got some young kids, they're looking at getting into RC, but you're kind of thinking like, oh, I can't really afford, let's say, two trucks. The neat thing about this setup is you can have, each kid can kind of have their own body. So one could pick the yellow, one could pick the red, but it also comes with two 1200 milliamp. Yeah, two 1200 milliamp 2S packs. These are also included, which means you can go out with your little guys, girls, and run this bad boy. One of them can run the red body and a battery. When they're done, swap it over to the yellow. And if your kids are anything like mine, my kids always kind of sat back while the other one was doing something. So when we would go out with RCs, I would give, a radio to my daughter, a radio to my son, but one would kind of stand there and watch the other one. So something like this is a pretty cool setup that right out of the box, you could, one, as yourself, just enjoy the truck, the two different bodies. One day decide to run the yellow, one day decide to run the red, or go out and the same thing. Bring both batteries, run it for a bit on the yellow, run it for a bit on the red. But from what I was just mentioning, if you've got kids, each kid can kind of have sort of like their own truck. One of them will run the yellow, one of them will run the red. And personally, guys, I think that's kind of cool. It's sort of, you don't have to worry about trying to pick up another body or a completely other truck. Now, obviously, if they get more into it, hey, you'll want to grab another one. But Another thing, guys, over here, you can see it's a little blurry. This thing does come RTR. The only thing this truck is missing right now is the double A's for the transmitter. So it comes with a USB charger, which is right here. And I should mention, guys, actually going back to that charger, the batteries themselves do have a balance port, obviously, for the 2S, but they also come with a T style connector. So that's like, I don't know, I always just refer to them as a Dean's connector. So the charger looks to be, I think, 1 amp. So obviously, guys, something like this, you could charge at 1.2 amps. So if you've got like an RC grade charger, you'd be able to plug this in and probably charge it up a little quicker. I did notice in the manual, it said something about 2 hours charging. So that even seems like it might even be lower than 1 amp. So the truck is, guys, again, it does come with the batteries. It comes with the charger, but for simplify and probably putting a quicker charge into the battery, you can just use your hobby grade charger. The radio itself has one thing I really like. So it's a 2.4, guys, gigs transmitter, all those kind of fun things. But it does have right here, guys, your speed switch. So you are able to dial up the speed or dial it back. Now, again, for a lot of us, we'll probably just do this, crank it all the way up and run it. But if you're going out with kids, you're going out with people that are new to the hobby, especially since I do find these little brushless trucks, these 1/18 scale trucks, whether they're 2S or 3S, they absolutely rip. So to be able to just dial back on the transmitter, kind of reduce the speed a little bit, let people get comfortable with it, let people get comfortable with the steering, I find something like that to be a huge benefit. One last thing before we get into the truck is I just wanted to show some of the accessories and some of the extra parts that are included with this truck. So you do get this little brush. You get like a little Phillips head screwdriver. Most of the screws on the truck are Phillips head. There's a few that were metric. Those rings actually came with like little metric screws. I think there were 1.5 to put them on. You do get quite a bit of extra gear. So these, I'm assuming, guys, are like spurs. You have what looks to be like bevel gears right here for your differentials. And then it looks like you also have 2 pinions. So that's kind of neat that they just include those. The truck had obviously the 4 body pins on it when I took it out of the box, but it also comes with extra body pins, as well as these little guys here, guys, are the wheel nuts. And this was the extra hardware for the bead lock screw. So they do just kind of give you a couple of extra ones there if you happen to drop one while you're putting those screws in. They are pretty small. But again, if you use something, guys, like I got right here, so I'd pick this up from KCRC. It's just like a little silicone kind of mat. It's got obviously these cutouts in it. Great for doing stuff like this. You want to put your parts in. They're not going to bounce all over the place. They're not metal, so I find the parts kind of, when you put them in, they don't really bounce too much. So they kind of stay where they're supposed to be. So again, I'll leave a link, guys, to this in the description also. I've got a few of these now. If I actually pan up, you can see I've also got this big black one. So again, there will be a link, guys, in the description if you want to check those out. They're nice just for keeping things kind of separate, especially when you're pulling things apart. All right, now moving on to the truck. So I did pick up, guys, this little thing off Amazon specifically for this truck. Just to kind of, I find sometimes when I do videos, I'll start talking and start kind of explaining and going over the parts and all that kind of stuff. And the truck just sits there. And when I'm watching it back, I'm like, oh man, I should have done this and I should have moved it. So yeah, I picked up this little guy. Hopefully it'll work for other trucks. But either way, you have a 1/18 scale brushless monster truck. So you've got a brushless motor. I'm not 100% sure, guys. Well, actually, I'm not for sure at all on what the KV is. I can't find that, but it is a 2S truck. Right here, you have your receiver ESC box. It is, I believe, an 18 amp or 17 amp ESC. You've got your little battery tray here. Again, the truck does come with 2 2S LiPos, T-style connector. You have oil not filled shocks. So you can add oil to the shocks for tuning. They do come with kind of like an aluminum cap. It looks like an aluminum threaded collar. I did notice when I was kind of just looking at the truck that this is pretty stiff. So I definitely would recommend, guys, adding oil to the shocks. I will be doing that after the first run. So I will give you guys a first run. It won't be today because unfortunately the weather's changing and it's already kind of started to sprinkle outside, but I will be getting it out. I'll run it first with the truck the way it is now, and then in the next little bit I will get the shocks off, put a little bit of light oil in them, and start kind of tweaking them that way. The tires feel good. There are no foams, but I find with most of these little trucks, 1/18 scale and stuff like that, they don't often come with foams. They are glued to the rims. And one thing, guys, this might sound kind of odd, but when I was putting these screws in, Again, they're a 1.5. I was using my driver. Now, obviously, I had it reduced, to the least amount of torque and stuff like that. But I did notice that a couple of times when I kind of got a little bit carried away with the trigger, the screw did stop. And right now, a lot of you know exactly what I'm getting at there. The plastic seems to be a pretty decent plastic on the rim, because if it was very cheap and if it was not very durable plastic, I would have stripped it right away. And that was not the case. Every time, and I think there was about 2 or 3 times that I was just kind of I'd gotten carried away, the screw did stop. So it stopped, obviously, guys, with the aluminum rim, but it didn't keep spinning or anything like that. So I was kind of impressed with that. You do have a front little kind of light kit here that goes into the bumper. We will power that up, guys, in a few minutes, and you'll be able to check that out. Obviously, your steering servo. The battery tray is a bit different. Now, the only reason I say it's a little bit different is because you have your body pin here, which that is obviously kind of normal. But the back of the actual battery tray, I'm going to see if I can prop this up to show you guys, sort of sits in a bit of a slot. So I guess if you were running, let's say, like a thinner 2S, it sort of floats along. So it does sit in a groove. And then obviously your battery would be pushing up on it, and your pin is going to hold the battery in. Oddly enough, seeing it is kind of a nice little setup, because again, if you were running different batteries, if you have other small 2S batteries that you'd want to put in here, this kind of allows it to fit. Obviously, it doesn't go any higher, so it wouldn't go any higher than this. But if you had something, let's say, that was a little bit thinner, it kind of floats with it. So I kind of like that. I think that's actually something that, maybe especially some of the bigger manufacturers could sort of take a design like this and kind of maybe fine tune it for something bigger, just to be a little bit more durable. But overall, guys, I think that actually is kind of a neat way to do a battery. The truck has a plastic chassis. Obviously, guys, it's all one piece under here, which is pretty much, I kind of sort of go back and forth on this. Obviously, guys, I always like trucks that have aluminum chassis and stuff like that. But I think on small trucks like this, when you're trying to get sort of the best power to weight ratio, I think a plastic chassis, guys, on a truck like this is the way to go. Again, it doesn't have that bling factor or anything like that. But again, I think from a performance standpoint, durability and all that kind of stuff, this is definitely the way to go. A few other things, guys, regarding the truck is the 18 amp ESC is waterproof. Now, they don't actually give a specific rating on it or anything like that, but they do indicate it as waterproof. And over here, guys, your little servo right there is a whopping 1 kilogram. Again, there's not a whole lot of truck here, guys. This thing's pretty light. It's got small tires, so my guess is it'll do a good job. Was with the 2 batteries, they indicate a 20-minute runtime per battery, so 40 minutes overall. Now, I would recommend running 1 battery, seeing where your temps are on your motor, your speed control, and all that kind of stuff, and then go out for a second run. I will be testing that, except because of where I live right now, guys, in Northern Ontario, it's 0 degrees Celsius out right now. So my temperatures on the ESC motor are going to vary from people that are still in let's say, a warmer environment right now. So again, I would say test it for yourself. I'm not even saying, guys, that there will be an issue. But again, based on just RC experience in general with any car, back-to-back batteries sometimes aren't always the best idea. So I would just say, again, like I mentioned, just run 1 pack, check your temps, and then, hey, if you're good to go, throw in the second one and keep on rolling. All right, guys, there it is, the DEERC 300E. Again, it is a brushless 4-wheel drive monster trucks. Came with everything you saw in the video. So the 2 bodies, the USB charger, the 2 batteries, the radio. Again, the only thing that's missing are I think it's 3 AA's to get the transmitter running. But overall, guys, really impressed with how it looks for a inexpensive truck. So this thing, guys, retails, I think, on Amazon.com for $129.99 US, and in Canada, I think it's around 156 or something like that. And you get quite a bit, guys. I see a lot of value in this for that price. I'm looking forward to getting it out and obviously, you guys, seeing how this thing performs. You guys know I drive every RC the same. So it doesn't matter if I'm driving a 6S hardcore basher, a stadium truck, or something like a 1/810 scale monster truck. I'll be taking it off the KCRC ramp, probably not on its highest settings or anything like that, but I will, guys, definitely be having a lot of fun. There's links in the description to everything. And as always, if you enjoyed this video, give me a big thumbs up. And also, guys, a huge thank you to DEERC for sending this out to me.